This is the statue of Cervantes, the famous Spanish writer who gave us the stories of Don Quixote. We're in Madrid today, a city with a rich cultural history and home to many famous writers and artists, including El Greco, Velázquez, Goya, and Molina, who wrote the tales of Don Juan. But our focus today is on the future, not the past, as Madrid hosts the annual European Technology Roundtable Exhibition, ETRE, the yearly gathering of the top names in the PC industry. Where is the PC business going? Well, to find out, we're going to talk to Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft, Bob Frankenberg, president of Novell, Jim Clark, CEO of Netscape, Esther Dyson, editor of Release 1.0, and a host of other top names in the PC industry. The future of the PC and the Internet on this special edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard Personal Computers, developing PCs for business. Additional funding from the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.
This extraordinary building is the main post office here in Madrid. You remember post offices, you know, snail mail? The building is in fact a bit of a monument here in Spain, and I guess for a good reason. It's kind of difficult to remember what life was like before email. Well, if you listen to what the visionaries are saying here at the ETRE conference in Madrid, it will soon be difficult to remember what life was like before the Internet. They called this conference ETRE, but they might as well have called it Internetre. That's all everyone was talking about, the net, the web, and how to turn it into a business. Despite the immense growth of the Internet, industry visionaries were still trying to get a handle on exactly what the net is.
Right now, so much of the Internet activity is hobbyist, and really it's almost like the early days of either citizens band radio, when people used citizens band to just chat about nothing and ultimately ended up totally glutting the channels, or sometimes I think it's like shortwave radio. Back when I was a kid, you'd use your shortwave radio to listen to a distant radio station. You'd listen to it just long enough to figure out you'd heard it, and then you'd put that down in your book as something you'd actually heard. And so many people use the net that way.
I see it as more like the telephone, simply because it's, in so many ways, it's just much more like the telephone because it's two-way. But, for example, imagine having a panel of grown-ups talking about how they use the telephone. I mean, it's just, you know. So about how many phone calls do you make a day? Well, when you're on the phone, do you look into the, people just don't even think about it.
I think that characterizing the Internet as something like DOS, as something like a basic operating system, is quite accurate. It's, if we designed the Internet today, as opposed to 20 years ago, we would do it so much differently. There's so much wrong with the way the Internet is put together. Yet, it's a standard. We're stuck with it, and people will make fortunes and lose fortunes in the course of trying to improve it, just as we did with DOS.
In the short run, it will disappoint people. In the long run, it will change things far more than anybody knows. The basic thing that the net does, it's profoundly subversive because it changes the balance of power. It used to be information would go out this way, and the little guy was even less significant than 100 little guys didn't have the power of one big guy. But now each little guy has his own, he's the center of his own universe and can reach out to whomever he wants. So it's unsettling for governments, it's unsettling for large corporations, it's unsettling for all kinds of hierarchies.
The Internet has been a mixed blessing for the commercial online services such as CompuServe, Prodigy, and AOL. It's a major competitor, but it's also a major reason for finding an online gateway. The risk is that once commercial subscribers find the net, they'll discover they don't need their proprietary service anymore.
It's clear, just anecdotally, that when users are introduced to the net via prodigy or an AOL browser, if they become really enamored of the net and get very comfortable there, quite soon they begin to look at just going to a pure internet access provider. So the struggle for the online services is to continue to offer enough added value that you don't go to just a straight internet access provider, because that cost will be less.
Jim Clark, CEO of Netscape, thinks the commercial services are doomed if they see themselves as internet gateways.
We have 5 times the number of people using the internet through Netscape as AOL has people accessing the internet through AOL. So it's ludicrous to think that they will be the standard worldwide access provider to the internet. It's totally ludicrous. The only way they will survive is if they mutate their business model to become the most premier place to visit on the internet.
So what does it mean to be a premier place to visit on the net? Is it the interface or is it the content?
Content is not key. It's like saying what's key in a bar is the beer. It's not. It's the bartender and the people the bartender brings in. And you go to the bar because of the other people who are there.
That is easy to say, hard to do. For many, the short-term objective is just to get their business up on the World Wide Web, but Esther Dyson says you can't really make money that way.
If you think you're going to get value out of having a web page, you're wrong. You've got to, your web page is a presence. It's like a trademark, but you still need to be selling something behind that web page or providing some kind of value. In the long run, some of that value may be virtual. It may be creativity that exists only electronically. But simply having a place on the web is, people are way overexcited. And the stuff is real, but there's a lot of froth on top of the wave.
One possible way to make money is to use the net as a virtual storefront, create online catalogs and sell directly to surfers. Will that work? Opinion is divided.
You don't have a sense of touch, a sense of smell. Any product that is important is probably not going to sell real well. The internet is great for making analytical decisions based on available information. And as such, consumers, quite frankly, don't in general make very analytical decisions. There are a lot of impulse buys, and the industry and advertising and everything is geared towards making the consumer buy something on an impulse. And that's going to be harder to do over the internet because it is so neutral, so cold.
You can sell on the net if you can beat anyone else's prices. And one way to do that is to use the global power of the net to cut out the middleman.
It's common in this industry to say that the middleman is going to be disaggregated with the rise of electronic commerce. In other words, consumers are going to go directly to the source of supply without a retail participant in the middle taking a cut. The notion is you'll get lower prices and perhaps more immediate delivery, etc. In the future, you may not have a relationship with Land's End or J. Crew when you're buying a shirt on the internet. You may buy directly from the factory in southern China that manufactures the shirt.
Netscape's Jim Clark thinks it's hard to answer the question about how to make money on the net because it's the wrong question.
I view it somewhat like the question, how do you make money on the phone system? Because if you think of the internet in the right way, it's nothing but it's for data what the phone system is for voice. Therefore, you in a business use the phone system. You don't make money on it. You don't think you're making money on it, but you use it to make money. The phone is an indispensable aspect of running your business, no matter who you are. Therefore, as data becomes more and more important and computers become more ubiquitous, the internet becomes a mechanism and use how you wish to make money.
The business model online is still completely unclear, and I think anyone who thinks they have the answer is frankly deluded, particularly in the mass market where we have consumers who are used to paying less than full value for their media because it's supported by advertising, and we really haven't figured out how to incorporate advertising online.
The other thing no one has figured out yet is how to provide secure financial transactions on the internet. Would you put your credit card number on the net? Mike Rogers says he would.
The whole online security transaction, is it safe to send money, is an interesting question. When you consider what consumers do today in terms of giving out their credit card numbers over the telephone to all of these 800 numbers, they really have no idea who they're talking to. I would imagine that right now buying something over the internet using a credit card is arguably safer than using the telephone system.
I'm not really worried about the security issues because, quite frankly, I'm more scared that a waiter is going to run my credit card twice at a restaurant than that some cyber hacker is going to steal my credit card over all those gigabytes that are being transferred over every day. But I think in order to get anybody to switch, you need to present a very compelling advantage. And I don't see that with electronic retailing. I see it on the wholesale area.
And that is one potentially huge area of online commerce that most everyone else is forgetting about. But a company called Dynabit has already launched an internet wholesale buying service called TradeX, and they are projecting billions of dollars in transactions because of the benefits to buyer and seller.
The buyers have the benefit of having consolidated information at one point, accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all over the world. So instead of browsing through the magazines and calling 10 people to find the best price on a particular product, they can do that through TradeX and see the same 10 or 15 offers on each product and make their buying decision based on the information they see there. The seller benefit from the ability to expand internationally without the traditional costs associated with international expansion.
The issue of censorship or regulation of net content was also a hot topic at ETRE, but there was no abundance of easy answers. QuarterDeck, which has entered the net software business now with several products including the Internet Suite, is hoping for an Internet ratings system like the movies have, and then software that could build protective filters around those ratings.
One of the things we are looking into is a kid-safe browser where parents and kids together will put in some restrictions so that kids cannot go to some sites that have a negative impact. On the other hand, the industry also has to be responsible here, take its responsibility and agree within the industry to come to a kind of a rating that certain websites certainly should have some code key in it connected to browsers to prevent that. That can be solved in a technical way very easy, and as such that would prevent interference from governmental regulations, because if not, they have to come in.
Stuff like censorship, I think, is misguided, impossible to enforce, and fundamentally wrong. The corollary of that is I think there should be lots of private filtering services, and I think there will be, like Surfwatch, and you may filter for what your kids can see, you may filter because you have certain political views, you may filter simply because you find everything except French literature boring.
It looks like the future of the net will be anything but boring. One of the hottest new topics here was Java, a new web language from Sun Microsystems that redefines what a web page looks like. The Java launch was almost a secret to the public, but not to the industry.
We had no announcement, no $200 million ad budget, no rock songs, no movie stars, and yet we've been just overwhelmed with the interest level and the number of companies. We probably have several hundred companies today already Javatizing their applications. ESPN with Starwave is Javatizing their homepage. We have local newspapers that are beginning to use it. We're seeing other private companies, not public, public corporations beginning to use it for their own internal application development. The source code is available, and you can actually get the hot Java browser over the network live. So we're not even sure of the amount of companies that are using it, because since we've been giving away the browser for free.
One of Java's customers is Netscape.
Right now, you've browsed the web. You've seen a page served over Netscape. The pages are static. You get them and they're static. Java enables the content to become interactive, active. Let's say active as opposed to interactive. So there can be elements in the content that have activity a little voice clip that's speaking in the background, playing music, and it's the choice of the supplier what that does. As the application gets downloaded to the personal computer, a little application runs and makes the content live and active, delivers a little movie clip, delivers a bouncing ball or a stock ticker tape.
It's very significant. It's this whole, it's what everybody talks about. It is genuinely, instead of simply getting content off the net, you get capability off the net. You have agents. I mean, this is what it is. It's just the word agent has gotten overhyped, and now it really exists. It's Java.
But there is a risk to Java since it isn't static but actually takes over your computer. Esther Dyson says not to worry.
The Java apps are restricted, so they can't really mess around with your machine because it's kind of like, call it safe sex. I mean, you get real movement, but it's still got a kind of membrane around it that protects your fundamental machine from the thing doing too much.
The other concern about Java is the possibility that it could become a proprietary web standard.
I happen to think Java is very important so long as it's not proprietary. In other words, our use of Java is completely open. And if, on the other hand, Sun had the objective to own Java or own the language, then it wouldn't become a standard. It's not going to. No single company can own something and have it become a standard in this day and age. It has to be open, has to be multi-platform.
What attracted us to the internet in the first place was that it's so compatible, that everyone can get on the internet and talk to everyone else. Yet we see more and more new technologies coming along, like, for example, Java, which are specialized technologies that give you a lot more impact and power and so forth on the internet, but require specialized browsers to look at. So I think we're going to start seeing on the internet the question of browser incompatibility.
Besides Java, the other major new trend in cyberspace is the merger of virtual reality and networks. This is the way you will soon browse an online world. With a virtual character representing you called an avatar, your avatar will stroll around, literally bump into people, and start conversations, or walk into shops. The creator of this new cyber world is UB Networks, and they came up with the game-type interface after doing some joint research with several phone companies.
So together we did some research, and we got them to fund a research where we presented different types of display systems to a consumer audience, and we found out that there was a very high degree of attraction to the 3D game experience. Not the Windows experience, not a Netscape Mosaic experience, but a game 3D experience. And that kind of put us on the thought that if we could find a way to marry the 3D graphics out of the game world with a robust network of computers and of network capabilities, that would be the starting point for a very different electronic commerce strategy.
The reason behind this different strategy is the awareness that in just a few years, the adult consumers will be the kids who were brought up on video games.
I believe that there's going to be some generational effects. I believe that the investments that we are making as a society and as an industry today is all just a starting point of what is yet to come. And I believe that the buying public will be a very different generation, a generation that has grown up with different ways of treating television, games, and technology in general. So I believe that also there you see an associative effect of 3D graphics that might have much more of a normal acceptance level to children, today's children, tomorrow's buyers.
UB Networks is also developing private networks that don't depend on the internet at all. One example is the Starbright Network, created especially for disabled children. Through the power of the virtual world, these children can do things that would otherwise be impossible for them.
Hi, Fish.
Hi.
And what's your name?
Vanessa.
Hi, I'm Steven, or E.T., as they call me sometimes. Okay. And where are you right now?
By the castle.
Today's internet sites are just the tip of the iceberg. Here at ETRE, there was talk of all kinds of new ways to use the internet. Quarterdeck is coming out with something called Web Phone that lets you use the internet and a local call for long-distance global voice communications.
You save a lot of money on long-distance phone bills. But that's only one step, because when you talk over the web through your computer with your business partners, then you can look at the document, the business document, and talk over it and agree on a contract over the web. Saves you a lot of time and money.
Voice traffic, the integration of email and voicemail and all of those things. Voice is just another form of data. You see, this is where, if you really think of data in its most comprehensive way, it's just bits, and anything can be represented as bits is going to be transmitted over the internet. That's movies, that's voice.
Clark believes that the networked personal computer will not only become your telephone, but also your television set.
One of the applications available on computers will be television. Television will become an application as opposed to a standalone technology. And one of the applications may simply be treat it like cable. You may just say, I want my television, cable TV, and then you'll be able to use a remote just like you use television today. Or you may say, I want to watch some favorite movie, and or you may say, I want to watch the news in Paris on channel, your favorite TV channel in Paris, and get local real-time feeds of that news on a completely open switched basis throughout the world. This is what's coming over the next 5 to 10 years, and that's why I think the internet is such an important phenomenon.
Several industry futurists also see the internet totally changing the model for software application development and distribution.
The future model is I buy my desk that I need, whether it's a Unix desk, a Mac desk, or a Windows desk, and I get my applications over the network. And I basically go to the network and load in my word processor, load in my spreadsheet, or whatever I need, I use it, and then I basically discard it, and when I need it, I go get it again. It's basically application on demand over the network as opposed to application designed to the operating system.
Xander thinks this will open up the application business and once again allow small entrepreneurs to develop innovative new software.
We're talking about maybe 2 guys in a garage somewhere in South Dakota today writing a word processor and publishing to that network a Javatized word processor, and anyone on any machine, if their browser is Javatized, which Netscape is going to do, and they'll talk about that here tomorrow, can have access to that word processor. A fundamentally different way in looking at application development and deployment.
At Verity, a relatively new company focusing on internet applications, founder Philippe Courteau sees a very different internet world around the corner, one in which text-based email gets replaced by personal web pages which create virtual homes.
It's very easy to create. You can create your own personality. So immediately people you just give them your address, and suddenly it's like they can come into your home, and you have designed that home. It's your pictures. You could put pictures of your friends. You could put pictures of your children. If you're and you could, if you have a hobby, you could then suddenly link a lot of other persons who share the same hobby. You could create chat discussions. So you suddenly open your own world to everybody who wants to come in, who has the opportunity of coming in. This is very, very powerful.
Courteau's company is also developing a new intelligent search engine for the internet with a totally different approach to finding things.
Our technology will be used, for example, to search much more easily through the directories. To also create profiles, watching directories, and when something new happens, which is of interest to you, then you will be immediately notified that, oh, there is something new here about that thing. So you define what you want.
All of this internet future depends on better networking technology. Everyone keeps comparing the internet to the telephone system, but the phone is still a lot easier to use.
Part of the puzzle is in making the world's communications infrastructure a networking infrastructure. It's already there for voice. We need it for data. We need to have one worldwide network for data that collapses wide and local area networking and gets rid of a lot of the confusion and complexity that gets in the way today. That's been done for voice, and you can make a phone call from just about anywhere without a lot of instruction. A quick look at the instruction manual in your room here, and you can do that. That's not the case for the data network, and that's what we're working on together with partners.
Novell and Frankenberg have a vision of a totally networked planet by the year 2000, with 1 billion network connections in place, half of them for people, half of them for machines.
And the other half will be devices. Devices that not only include office equipment, but devices like automobiles that currently have microprocessors in them and would have added value in being connected to the network. Appliances, the ability to turn on your air conditioner on the way home, or for the power company to turn it down to adjust to peak demands. So a world in which information is available, in which you can address your correspondence to anyone and do so by name instead of by strange alias. A world that it will be deeply affected by this form of communication.
That's the first half of our coverage of the ETRE Computer Conference in Madrid. Coming up in a future episode, Part 2, featuring a talk with Bill Gates about the Microsoft Network and Windows 95. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Stewart Cheifet.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard Personal Computers, developing PCs for business. Additional funding from the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. Videotape copies of all Computer Chronicle shows are available for $32.50. Please order by show number and topic. And for more detailed information about the series, guests, and products featured, you can also order a subscription to the Cheifet Letter. In each issue, Stewart provides his unique insights and thoughts about the fast-changing world of personal technology. Videotapes and the Cheifet Letter can be ordered by calling 1-800-800-9520 or by writing us at the Computer Chronicles.